Community of I. Come on in and listen to me, bathing in wisdom, the mighty tree, shoulders so wide you can lean upon. If you're looking for answers, I'm the one. Read the book, I've seen the film, I bought the record and toured the museum. So much learning, I was almost free. Now it's gone in a moment, I'm just left with me. Just me, just me, just me. Tammy Spry asks, perhaps autoethnography is not about the self at all. Perhaps it is instead about a willful embodiment of we. For Marcelo Diversi and Claudia Moreira, alone, despair seems inevitable, paralysing. Together, we might be able to keep our bearings towards social justice. It's not often that my work begins with a title, but in the case of this keynote, that's exactly what happened. I settled on the title, Community of I, back in the new year, before coronavirus registered on my radar and before global lockdown became a reality. Today, I want to explore this phrase through a collage of story fragments and songs. My exploration hinges on two ideas. First, the recognition that when I do autoethnography, I often find myself venturing into territories where I feel alienated, isolated, or different. I know this isn't unusual for autoethnographers, and you might feel this way too. I find the act of writing and sharing can deepen any feelings of separation as I place myself on a metaphorical microscope slide, alone and exposed. So I need help to sustain this work. Where might I find this? What do we need to be able to live and do autoethnography in challenging times? What can we offer each other to keep our project on the rails? How do we stand together? Second, a sense that what's needed isn't amenable to rational description. It's beyond what can be encapsulated in a checklist or an inventory. John Lennon sang, "When I cannot sing my heart, I can only speak my mind." Bruce Springsteen sang, "We learnt more from a 3-minute record than we ever learnt in school." And Tori Amos recently wrote, "Songs are sometimes the only way I can understand emotionally what is going on, not only with me, but with others." In speaking of their lives, these writers speak too of my experience. I also need a different language to explore, understand, and communicate more fully. And I want to use a different language today, the language of song, of music, to speak with you all. The events of lockdown have added an extra potency to this for me, to the necessity of sustaining community in isolation, connections with others while we're on our own. The resonance of the idea of community of I has deepened. I want to dive into all this. I want to celebrate a community of I. I want to make a community of I with you, right here and right now. Who'll take this down? We've come a long way. Who witness, please? Who? Thursday, the 30th of April 2020, 5 weeks into lockdown. Walk to Seal Cove. Wild seas and a high tide. 20 or so seals lie out on the stony beach, just beyond the waves, and they wriggle up the beach each time the incoming tide reaches them. I find them soothing to watch. Last time I was here, there were 2 that were mating in the shallows, but not today. Too cold even for seals, perhaps. As I'm about to leave, I hear them start to sing. Stop to listen. My father is diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. The doctors say treatment is now inappropriate. He's been in hospital for 10 days during lockdown. No visitors allowed. I watch Elizabeth Gilbert's TED Talk, Your Elusive Creative Genius. She suggests we think of genius not as the artist, the creator, the person themselves, but as something external to them that may visit them, bringing exceptionalness to their work. Their job is to show up, to do their work, but whether or not the work is good is down to the external genius. It makes me think that genius in an autoethnography should not be located in the writer, the researcher, but instead within our community. Genius as a property of community. So great work is credited to the autoethnographic community as much as to the individual autoethnographer. I'll say that again. Good work should be credited to the community as much as to the individual. Saturday the 2nd of May, beautiful morning, calm, pink sky, and rabbits outside. They're grazing, bathing, and running on the grass. They make me smile. It's my father's 82nd birthday. The hospital say he's now stopped eating. They're arranging for him to come home as soon as possible. I'm not sure if he'll make it. We speak on the phone, but I can't understand a lot of what he says. I'm not sure if he even knows it's his birthday. He didn't remember his cancer diagnosis the following day. We speak for 2 minutes, it's as much as he can manage, and then he says he has to go. I wonder whether this will be the last time that we talk. Sunday the 3rd of May, a grey morning, a light breeze, calm, inside and out, after 8 hours of sleep. Mercy. It's the first time I've slept that long for months. Redundancy triggered chronic insomnia, along with the health consequences of sustained sleep deprivation. I reckon the university owe me for about 1,000 hours of lost sleep, and I imagine their accountants and managers could put a price to that, if pushed. A WhatsApp from an ex-colleague, John Tan, in Yorkshire. He says, "Time out of the race is a really important and rare thing. Sometimes we trade our health, creativity, sense of being for a familiarity of present and past. Yet that familiarity can be unhappy, unhealthy, and even damaging. Often your best work is ahead of you, and leaving the singular direction of before is what leads to that opportunity. That, for me, is what leaving the race, or pausing, or reconfiguring it, represents. Have a beautiful day, my friend. Pick up the guitar and let the music play you." Morning run to the lighthouse, kestrel suspended low over the cliffs. I stop directly underneath him. I can see his feet, the black bar across his tan tail, and his head scanning the terrain below. We are both motionless, frozen together in time for a few seconds. No sign of any other living thing, which is, I suppose, why he eventually flies on. I listened to one of Neil Finn's lockdown broadcasts from his LA home, blown away by his spare and vulnerable version of Burt Bacharach's "This Guy's in Love." I learned to play it. I see myself as a 4-year-old singing it to my father. Ba-ba-ba. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. You see this guy's in love with you. Yes, I'm in love. It's kind of funny, kind of sad. I imagine singing it over Zoom at his funeral. Monday the 4th of May. It's a perfect morning, still and silent. I know the waves will be tiny, but I surf anyway. Afterwards, return to Seal Cove. The seals are camouflaged today among the rocks. They look funny, flapping and flipping about, trying to keep up with the outgoing tide. They don't seem to like being too far from the water. I know how they feel. A couple, perhaps in their late 70s, walk slowly down the cliff path towards me. They peer over the edge. "No seals today," she shouts out. He says quietly to me, "No seals today, then?" I say, "Well, yeah, there's a few." "No, none at all," he shouts out back to her. I say, "Well, look, there are. It's just that they're camouflage." But they don't hear, and they can't see. And I know how they feel. Thursday, the 7th of May, a WhatsApp from my mother to say that Dad's life is ebbing away now. He was given a first end-of-life injection last night. Don't know what to do or what to say. Pray, meditate, sing a song, write this. I settle on driving to Exeter to be with them tomorrow. Later, I listen to another of Neil Finn's webcasts. He covers David Bowie's song Kooks. And if you have to go to school, remember how they messed up this old fool. And if your homework brings you down, we'll throw it on the fire and take the car downtown. Neil tells us that Bowie used to sing it to his youngster, that Neil sang it to his son Liam, and that Liam now sings it to his son. I'm filled with admiration, longing, and regret. Friday, the 8th of May, VE Day, a public holiday. 75th anniversary of the end of World War II. I wake at 4 a.m. with a photo in my mind's eye, my father with Tracy, circa 1997. He's at the barbecue, big smile, cooking food for everyone. Drive to Exeter, worried about travelling during lockdown. I hear police are on the Cornish border turning people back. I cross the county border as 2 minutes of silence is broadcast on the radio. When my mother opens the front door, the first thing I hear is his breathing from the other end of the house. Have they put him on a ventilator? It's so loud. But no, it's just him breathing. When I see him, I don't recognise him. I wonder if the hospital have sent the wrong person home. Talk to him. Clutch his shoulder. He's past being able to respond. By the evening, his breathing has got worse. Pulse weaker, hands starting to cool. Mum cancels the evening care team and then the overnight carer. She calls my brother in Zimbabwe and they talk. "I don't know if you should see him like this, my love." "Yes, I want to see Dad. Take me in." My brother and his partner on FaceTime, 7,000 miles away. Mum and me in the room beside my father. Mum and I take turns holding the phone so that they can see him. He dies shortly after 8:30. I light a candle and put it next to his bed. Go to take a photo to send to my brother, but no. You can't do that, David. The photo seems abhorrent. My brother calls back on FaceTime and asks to see his dad again. So I sit, pointing an iPad at my father's body, filming him. For my brother. 6 days later, Thursday the 14th of May, a card from Andrew Gillett in Derbyshire. He sends me some lines of poetry and a drawing of the shooting cabin, which he tells me is a landmark of sorts, in the hills above Hayfield, where I live. It's a place where local people go to think. Monday the 18th of May, a WhatsApp from Krista Welsh in London. I hope you're weathering the storm of your father's death and the fallout that comes from this. I'd like to give you a hug, but sending you lots of love. Know our thoughts are with you. Tuesday, the 19th of May, day before the funeral. Wake to a still morning, anxious and getting more so. Head out for a walk. Stop on the headland looking west. Grey, cloudy, light onshore wind, spits of rain. I go through some yoga moves facing the ocean, sun salutations, mindful movement. Every now and then I find myself shouting out like a bark. As I move a body part, it seems to release tension as a shout. It's primal, it's unconscious. I look, check, there's no one around. But my body begins to feel free as I move. My anxiety lessens. I start to feel some energy. It's like a kind of block has been released, a block to life. Climb down to the beach, shoes off, barefoot into cold water. I walk the long wide sand. A jangling dog bounds up, smiling, laughing all over me, paws on my shorts, my chest, nuzzling, gambolling. He gently tries to take my hand in his mouth. It's too much, so I turn away. But I'm laughing. Words to speak at my father's funeral tomorrow start to arrive. The poetry in the shooting cabin that Andrew sent show me a place to begin. I rehearse out loud on the beach, in the vast empty space. A WhatsApp from Jason Butler, a drama therapist in Massachusetts. All of the layers. How to say some things that need to be said while not saying the things that can't be said. Difficult task. I'm sure you'll do it beautifully. Day after the funeral, Thursday the 21st of May. A WhatsApp from Hannah Shakespeare in Buckinghamshire. Well done, David. You made it through. Katrina said you spoke beautifully. This part is over now. I get in the ocean with Katrina at dawn. Wash yesterday away. Small waves, but wonderful. Later I need to pick up my guitar. It feels like there's a song that's ready to come through. I play around some major seventh variations, different rhythms and keys, probably inspired by Neil Finn's version of the Bacharach song. Katrina encourages me to keep going when I lose faith and feel like giving up. I keep going. And by the end of the morning, I have a song. Who'll take this down? We've come a long way. Who? Witness, please. Who? The films can't roll, notes don't ring, poetry's cracked, my songs won't sing. It's a tale of hell and majesty. It's a tale. Would you know the difference between a lion and a roar? I could soothe you in the nighttime or leave you feeling sore. And who'll take this down? We've come a long way. Who will record me? Who? Walls fall down, roof blown off, window smashed, belonging lost. It's a tale of hell and majesty. It's a tale of hell and majesty. Would you know the difference between a cabin and a cage? I could cover him in kisses or smother her with rage. And who? We've come a long way. Who? Would you know the difference between a promise and a rock? If I found you in the morning or called to say I'm lost, who'll take this. We've come a long way, ooh, witness. Ooh, we've come a long way. During the Congress of Qualitative Inquiry online gathering that same afternoon, Jackie Good reminds us of the freeze response to shock. How in times of severe stress our nervous system can shut down, leaving us unable to think rationally, to be creative, to function even at all. Just minutes later, Bryant Alexander tells us, "I am more in love with you, all of you, now, more than ever." He means it. It's plain for everyone to see. Sunday, the 24th of May. Katrina suggests a morning walk, and we find that the Horsebox Cafe on the beach has just reopened. We both fancy a coffee, but neither of us have brought any money. We ask for credit, an IOU. The cafe owner happily agrees. "Come back any time, I'll be here all week," he says. "There's no need to pay today." We sit on the pebbles and enjoy the treat of coffee out in lockdown. We become regulars. A WhatsApp from Marcella Diversi in Washington. What a beautiful song, music and lyrics. Sorrow and soulful, it feels to me. My lady and I are listening and watching you sing and play on the dock across the street. A WhatsApp from Jane Smith in Yorkshire. Your new song is totally beautiful and so are you. Just listened and watched you again. If you can feel it, I'm hugging you right now. I wonder if people loving my songs is the same thing as people loving me. Tuesday, the 26th of May. A misty morning. I walk to the beach for an early surf. Take my 7'3" board. Head high swell, overhead on some sets. Hard to catch at first. I miss a few and get pummeled on the inside. As the tide drops, I start to catch some fast, exhilarating rides, high up the face, looking down into the chasm, sweeping turns, getting lost in the arcs. I'm following my body, which is following my board, which is following each line of swell, as it follows the contours of the sandy ocean floor. I notice I'm holding my breath as I ride. Each second is too precious, too primal, too quickly vanished to risk a breath. As I paddle back into position, a big bull seal swims past me, almost breaking the social distancing regulations. He could have been a slow-moving dolphin, but for the absence of a dorsal fin. Slow and graceful, he breaches the surface, glistening grey with darker spots, his huge back rolling out of and then into the water. Big enough and assured enough just to be. I am guest in his ocean. He swims by to take a lazy look at me. I paddle after him, following a trail of bubbles that are breaking the surface. He's only sauntering, but I can't keep up. I watch him surface, look around, roll, and dive again. Tuesday the 2nd of June. Morning walk to Seal Cove. Low tide. No seals at home. I begin to turn away at the moment that a kestrel drifts lazily up the cliff face. He rises right beside me and flies a chest-high circle around me, just 6 or 7 paces away. Close enough that I can look him in the eye. He seems to be looking me in the eye too. I hold my breath again. I rotate on the spot to keep up with his travel. And then he flies off, landing on a fence post 100 yards away. I like to think it was the same kestrel that I met 2 weeks ago, coming back, coming close, checking up on me. A WhatsApp from Alec Grant in Sussex. In the end, underneath it all, underneath the shit pile of life, there's the diamond of loving human contact. That's what you, me, us, our intersubjectivity and our work stand for. We must keep the diamond polished. Who'll take this down? We've come a long way. Who will witness, please? Who? Overwhelm. Happenings that are too much or too big to write about, to put down on paper. Shock, reverberations of trauma, freezing whatever processes are needed to seed songs or carve stories. But during the spring I found myself able to write again, in the form of a simple diary. Writing the events of my days was possible. These events were not overwhelming. Writing them, I was not overwhelmed. I consider them to be blessings, both in the moment and in the writing. Sacred seconds, moments of meaning, precious time immersed in the same salt water as a seal. Time suspended, cutting and curving across the North Atlantic wave. Coffee, given in trust and shared on pebbles with a soulmate. A kestrel's swooping return, hanging then swirling about my head. Why do I find a kestrel's visit magical? Why not a seagull or a sparrow? Is it something in the bird itself? Something in the material of kestrel? Or is it something between us, special beings together in time and space? I write these moments to preserve them, to reinforce their meaning, and to share them with you. But there remains something in the moments themselves. Even if I never wrote them down, they would still hold meaning. They would still have something to say. There is something sacred in these seconds. Community of I. Writing autoethnography draws attention to my alienation and aloneness, my deficits and dysfunctions. But over the course of 5 weeks, in springtime, in lockdown, in Cornwall, I was given a means to keep going, to come through, to survive myself. I picture that means of survival as a community that extends across natural and virtual worlds. A community that helps sustain me to keep doing the work. That is a community that sustains its own work. I couldn't have got through this alone. I can't sustain myself or this work without our community. And I suspect that I'm not alone in that. Thank you.